The young and the restless spoilers shock for years. Whispers and rumors had swirled around Genoa's darkest corners about the mysterious disappearance of Phyllis. Many speculated wildly, each tale more twisted than the last. Some even pointed accusing fingers at Sally, insisting that she had a hand in Phyllis's vanishing. But the truth, as it would soon be revealed, was far more tangled and heart-wrenching than anyone could have imagined. Sally had always been a fiercely protective mother, a trait that had both defined her life and haunted her every step. It wasn't until she discovered evidence that shattered everything she believed about her past that her world turned upside down. Hidden deep within old photographs and cryptic documents, Sally uncovered a truth she could scarcely believe: her daughter, long presumed dead, was still alive. Worse yet, all evidence pointed to a diabolical plot orchestrated by none other than Elena and Phyllis. It appeared that Elena and Phyllis had conspired in secret to kidnap the baby, Sally's precious daughter, and deliver her to a nondescript orphanage. Their motive, shrouded in mystery and cloaked by layers of deceit, was something Sally could not fathom. With the chilling certainty of a mother's intuition and the hard proof clutched in her trembling hands, Sally knew that she had to act. She resolved, with the full measure of her resolve and maternal fury, to confront the conspirators directly and extract the truth. Late on a rain-soaked evening, Sally tracked down Phyllis and Elena to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Genoa, a place where secrets festered in the gloom and every shadow could hide a hidden menace. The warehouse's cold concrete walls bore witness to countless sins, and tonight it would be the stage for a reckoning that had been long overdue. Sally's entrance was as sudden as it was intimidating. In the dim light of a single flickering bulb, she stood before Phyllis and Elena, her eyes ablaze with the fury of a betrayed mother. "I know what you've done," she hissed, her voice echoing off the damp walls. "I know you kidnapped my daughter. I have proof. You planned everything, taking her away to that orphanage. And now, I demand answers." Phyllis's expression was a mask of indifference, her eyes cold and unyielding. Elena, however, could not hide the turmoil that roiled behind her gaze. The air was heavy with tension as Sally advanced slowly, each step measured, each word a dagger aimed at the conspirators' hearts. "Why?" she demanded. "Why would you steal a child? What were you planning to do with her?" For a long, excruciating moment, the only sound was the soft drip of rainwater through the broken roof, punctuating the silence like a metronome of impending doom. Phyllis's lips remained sealed, as if bound by a force stronger than fear, while Elena's resolve crumbled under the weight of guilt and terror. "You have no idea what you've done," Sally continued, her tone laced with both sorrow and unyielding anger. "My daughter is all I have left. I would do anything, even kill, if it meant getting her back. I have spent years agonizing over your betrayal, over the fact that you took her away from me. And now, I want to know, where is she?" Elena's eyes filled with tears, the first sign of vulnerability breaking through her hardened facade. I didn't want it to go this far," she whispered, her voice trembling as if each syllable were a confession of every sin she'd ever committed. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. Phyllis and I, we believed that by sending her away, we were protecting her from something. We thought it was for the best." Sally's eyes narrowed dangerously as she took a step closer, her gloved hand slowly reaching into her coat. "Protecting her," she echoed bitterly. "You call this protection? You call tearing a child away from her mother protection?" With that, she produced a small handgun, its cold metal glinting ominously under the flickering light. "If you don't tell me where my daughter is right now, I swear on my life, I will set this entire room ablaze. You'll be trapped in a sea of fire, and there will be no escape." The threat hung in the air like a noose, tightening around Phyllis and Elena. For a moment, time seemed to slow. The sound of distant thunder mingled with the rapid beating of hearts as the gravity of Sally's ultimatum sank in. Elena's resolve broke under the intense pressure, and tears began to stream down her face uncontrollably. Her shoulders shook as the dam of secrets finally gave way. Okay. Elena sobbed, her voice barely audible above the cacophony of her emotions. "I'll tell you everything." She took a ragged breath, as if summoning the courage to spill her darkest secret. "We thought that if we could hide her away, keep her safe in an orphanage, she wouldn't have to live with the burden of our mistakes. Phyllis and I, we were desperate. We believed that by removing her from our world, we could shield her from the pain and corruption that has haunted us all our lives." Sally's eyes softened for just a moment, torn between the release of finally hearing the truth and the overwhelming sorrow that such a truth would inevitably bring. "And where is she now?" she demanded, her voice a mix of hope and dread. Elena hesitated, swallowing hard before continuing. We placed her in a secure facility, a place designed to protect children from the very evils we encountered. It wasn't an orphanage in the traditional sense. It was more of a sanctuary. I was told that she is safe there, being cared for, away from all the chaos of our world." Phyllis, who had remained silent until now, looked away, her face etched with regret and resignation. "We did what we thought was best at the time," she muttered, as if trying to absolve herself of the terrible choices made. "We believed that removing her from this toxic environment was the only way to save her future." Sally's heart pounded as she processed the revelations, her mind racing with conflicting emotions. The evidence of her daughter's continued existence, coupled with the remorseful confessions of her accusers, ignited a fragile ember of hope deep within her battered soul. But the lingering question still loomed large, an unrelenting specter in the midst of her emotional tempest. Is my daughter really still alive? Every fiber of Sally's being yearned for a positive answer, a miracle that would validate all the years of pain, longing, and sacrifice. Yet, the uncertainty gnawed at her, threatening to undo the strength she had mustered over a lifetime of loss. With trembling hands, she lowered the gun slightly, though her eyes never left those of Elena and Phyllis. "I'm going to find her," Sally declared, her voice resolute despite the tremor of fear underlying her words. "If she is out there, I will bring her home. I will protect her with everything I have, and no one will stand in my way." As the rain outside intensified, mirroring the storm raging within her, Sally knew that her quest was only just beginning. The revelations of that night had opened up wounds that might never fully heal, yet they had also offered a glimmer of salvation, a chance to reunite with the daughter she had lost so long ago. In the cold, unforgiving light of that desolate warehouse, amidst shattered secrets and desperate confessions, the truth was laid bare. The fate of Sally's daughter hung in a delicate balance between hope and despair. And so, with the haunting question echoing in her mind, is my daughter really still alive? Sally vowed to pursue every lead, every scrap of evidence, until she had unraveled the final mystery. The path ahead would be fraught with danger, betrayal, and unimaginable heartache, but Sally's resolve was unyielding. For the love of a mother is a force more powerful than any obstacle, and nothing, not even the darkest of secrets, could ever extinguish the burning flame of her devotion. In the end, as the rain washed away the remnants of that turbulent night, the truth remained suspended in the air, a truth that would shape the destinies of everyone involved. And while Sally's journey was only beginning, one thing was certain: she would stop at nothing to ensure that if her daughter was still out there, she would be found, cherished, and brought home to the loving embrace that she so desperately deserved. Sally had always clung to a single, unyielding belief deep in her heart: her daughter was still alive. Despite the outward calm she tried so hard to maintain, every fiber of her being pulsed with a painful hope, a hope that one day, after all the years of loss and betrayal, she would finally be reunited with the child she had been forced to believe was gone forever. Yet even as she kept this secret, she knew that things were growing more complicated by the day. The tangled web of past decisions and present dangers had reached a boiling point, and Sally realized that time was no longer on her side. In the dim light of an early autumn evening, Sally sat alone in her modest living room, the weight of her memories pressing upon her like an avalanche. The fading portraits on the wall whispered stories of happier times, and among those memories was the face of her daughter, a face that had haunted her dreams for years. The truth was that Sally's daughter was not only alive, but she was also Adam's child. This revelation, which had come to light through painstaking research and long-forgotten documents, was a double-edged sword. On one side, it meant that Sally's hope was not in vain. On the other, it opened up a world of complications she never imagined. Determined to reclaim what she believed was rightfully hers, Sally resolved to take the next step. She would embark on a desperate search for her daughter, no matter the risks. And she wouldn't be doing it alone. Billy, a steadfast ally with his own troubled past, had pledged to accompany her. Billy's loyalty had never wavered, but the mission they were about to undertake was perhaps the most dangerous of all. If they managed to find the baby, there was a very real possibility that Adam, a man with a complicated history and an equally conflicted heart, might abandon his current life to return to Sally. The implications were staggering. Billy, for his part, would have to sacrifice everything to help Sally recover her long-lost daughter. He knew the stakes were astronomical. Could risking it all truly be the right thing to do? The journey began on a cold, rainy night. Under the cover of darkness, Sally and Billy set out for the outskirts of Genoa, where whispers and rumors suggested the child might have been hidden away in a secure facility masquerading as an orphanage. Every mile they traveled was marked by the persistent beat of raindrops against the car's roof, a metronome of urgency that echoed Sally's racing heart. Billy drove in silence, his mind churning with doubts and questions. Was their dangerous quest justified? Could he truly risk everything for a cause that, if unsuccessful, might leave them both broken? As they neared their destination, a dilapidated building stood silhouetted against the stormy sky, a grim reminder of a past where innocence had been snatched away and replaced by bitter regret. Here, among crumbling walls and forgotten dreams, Sally hoped to uncover the truth behind her daughter's disappearance. She recalled the evidence she had painstakingly collected over the years, documents and photos that pointed to the chilling collusion between two women, Phyllis and Elena, who had orchestrated the kidnapping of her daughter. According to Sally's findings, these women had not only stolen the baby from her arms but had deliberately placed the child in an institution designed to keep her hidden from the world. Inside the building, dim corridors led to a small room where Sally had arranged to meet an informant, a person who claimed to have further information on the whereabouts of her daughter. The room was cold, the air stale with disuse and secrets. Every creak of the floorboards seemed to whisper warnings as Sally's heart pounded with anticipation. Billy stood close by, his eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of danger, fully aware that the stakes were escalating. Suddenly, their meeting was interrupted by a commotion outside, a siren in the distance, the unmistakable sound of police vehicles approaching. It wasn't long before the door burst open, and uniformed officers flooded into the building. Among them was Detective Reyes, a seasoned officer whose commitment to justice was rivaled only by his determination to uncover the truth about the string of mysterious disappearances that had plagued Genoa for years. Detective Reyes had long been investigating the shadowy figures of Phyllis and Elena, and tonight, his pursuit had finally led him to this very location. As the officers began questioning everyone present, Sally's thoughts churned. She couldn't help but wonder if this sudden police intervention was merely a coincidence or a sign that the dangerous conspiracy was unraveling faster than she had anticipated. With the authorities now in the picture, Phyllis and Elena's fate hung in the balance. Rumors had long circulated that if they continued down their dark path, they might soon face a death sentence either at the hands of those who sought retribution or through the natural consequences of a life steeped in sin. Meanwhile, Billy's internal struggle intensified. Every step he took alongside Sally was fraught with the weight of his own decisions. His choice to accompany her on this perilous quest was not made lightly. Billy was fully aware that if they found the baby and Adam were to return to Sally, his own life might change in ways he could neither predict nor control. Was he sacrificing too much for a cause that might never come to fruition? The tension between duty and personal sacrifice tore at him, leaving him to wonder if the risk was truly worth the potential reward. The situation reached a fever pitch as Detective Reyes confronted Phyllis in a stark, fluorescent-lit interrogation room. Phyllis, once so composed and unyielding, now looked visibly shaken under the unrelenting gaze of the detective. Her eyes darted nervously, as if searching for an escape that did not exist. "We did what we had to do," she stammered, her voice barely audible as she tried to justify her actions. Elena, who sat in a nearby chair, looked on with a mixture of fear and resignation. It was clear that the walls they had built around themselves were beginning to crumble under the pressure of the law and the relentless pursuit of truth. Back in the confines of the derelict building, Sally's determination hardened. With Billy by her side, she made a silent vow that no matter what obstacles lay ahead, she would not rest until she had found her daughter. "I will not let anyone take her away from me," she whispered fiercely, the words a promise to both herself and the memory of the child she longed to embrace once more. The burden of her past, marked by loss, betrayal, and desperate choices, was immense, yet it was outweighed by the hope that she might still salvage a future from the ruins of her broken life. As the night wore on, the tangled narratives of all involved began to converge. Detective Reyes's relentless investigation had cast a long shadow over Phyllis and Elena's dark deeds. The police were closing in, and with every passing minute, the chances of rescuing Phyllis, or at least bringing her to justice, grew stronger. The detective was determined to not only unravel the mystery behind the kidnappings, but also to prevent any further harm from befalling innocent lives. Sally's mind, however, remained singularly focused on one burning question: is my daughter really still alive? The evidence was compelling, and her intuition had never failed her before. In her heart, she believed that every sacrifice, every moment of anguish, was leading her closer to the truth. And now, with Billy's unwavering support and the slow but steady progress of the investigation, that truth was inching closer to being revealed. As dawn began to break over Genoa, the promise of a new day brought with it both hope and uncertainty. Billy and Sally stood together on the threshold of an uncertain future, a future where Billy would have to make choices that could redefine his entire life. Would his willingness to risk everything pay off, or would the cost of their desperate search prove too high? In the final hours before sunrise, as the first rays of light filtered through the cracked windows of the abandoned building, Sally clutched a worn photograph of her daughter, a reminder of all that she had lost and all that she still hoped to regain. With a deep breath, she resolved that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she would not be deterred. Her daughter's life was the one beacon of hope in a sea of despair, and she was prepared to go to any lengths, even if it meant risking everything she had left. The night had been long and filled with revelations, but it was only the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter where the fates of Sally, Billy, Adam, Phyllis, and Elena were irrevocably intertwined. As the city of Genoa slowly awoke, its streets bearing silent witness to the struggles and secrets of its inhabitants, one thing became abundantly clear: in the battle for truth and redemption, every choice mattered, and every sacrifice carried the potential to change the course of destiny. In the days to come, as the police continued their relentless pursuit of Phyllis and the full extent of the conspiracy began to emerge, Billy would find himself questioning whether his actions were justified or if he was doomed to lose everything in the process. And while Phyllis and Elena faced the grim possibility of death should they persist in their treacherous path, the hope of redemption, and the desperate search for a missing child, would continue to drive them all forward. Only time would tell if Sally's daughter was truly still alive and if the sacrifices made in the name of love and redemption would lead to a reunion that could finally mend the shattered fragments of a broken family. Until then, the storm of secrets, betrayal, and unwavering determination would rage on, echoing through the corridors of Genoa as a testament to the unbreakable bonds of family and the relentless pursuit of truth.